beautiful people. Welcome back to the Power Transformation Podcast, where we celebrate resilience, growth, and the bold journeys that shape us and so much more. I'm your host, Alethea Felton, and I just want to welcome you, whether you're brand new or one of my loyal listeners who's been rocking with me since the beginning. I appreciate you more than you know, and be sure to follow and subscribe wherever you're listening. And don't forget, the Power Transformation Podcast is now on YouTube, so you can watch some of these powerful conversations unfold. And my team and I are constantly building the YouTube channel. Subscribe, the Power Transformation Podcast. And today I am thrilled to introduce my guest, Susan Lazar Hart, a transformational mindset coach who is just an amazing human being. She is redefining midlife one bold step at a time, and this interview is so powerful. She is also Canadian, so she is one of our friends in Canada. I have global guests and global friends and people in my network, and I am so glad that she has chosen to embrace our show. And before we dive in, also, I'd love you to join my email community. Go to www.aletheafelton.com. And my site is getting a beautiful renovation, but I want you to be the first to know about upcoming events, resources, and transformational tools to keep rising stronger. So join my email list. You are able to still subscribe to my email list as my site is going through a renovation. You're going to love it. And before we get started and diving into this soul nourishing conversation, we always begin this podcast with an affirmation, speaking those things into existence as if they already are. I am going to say the affirmation once and then you repeat it. I embrace every season of life with authenticity, joy, and the power to reinvent myself. Susan, I am so happy to have you here on the Power Transformation Podcast. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be invited. I love that. The power and transformation, those are two power words right there.
Indeed. And I was so intentional about naming it, and it has turned into everything that I've desired. And we'll talk offline about that because I had one concept starting off, but it's totally evolved now into exactly what I want it to be. So we're going to go ahead and just jump right into this interview. And I always like to ask a fun, lighthearted icebreaker question for you, okay? And
Okay.
for all of my guests, this is a random question. It can be anything. So this is the question for you. Mountains or oceans? Which do you prefer and why?
Oceans.
Mm.
There's a I love looking at mountains. I love the energy of a mountain. But it's the ocean that gives it back to me. And I'm an early morning walker. And when the sun is up and I'm walking on the beach and there's no one else there, and I see the sun rising and I see the little tiny birds coming for the whatever was left in the sand and whatever, it's you get this. It's a change in a season right there and then, and you can't help but be part of that season of shift and change. Every sunrise, every sunset, every wave that comes in, it's there's a power there. There's a knowing there. There's an appreciation that for myself that it's like this vastness we call the ocean. It's our home.
Mm-hmm.
It nurtures us.
And it's so life-giving to me. It's so life-giving. Bodies of water in general. And I grew up by the ocean. And I grew up by the ocean. That's my hometown area, by the ocean, southeastern Virginia in the US. It's right by the ocean, waters everywhere. And I've just always loved water. And so, Yeah, I like that. So, Susan, if a person were to ask you to describe who you are, and you can take this question any way that you want, what would you say? Who are you?
Well, I'm an infinite spirit that chose a body for this life in Earth School right now here on this planet.
Mm,
I am everything that was and everything that will be. And I would say that that's who I am.
mm. I like that. I really like that. And we'll put a pause there because it piques my curiosity even more. But you, from an early age, have been known to say that you had a curiosity at a young age that was often misunderstood. So, if Susan, to just get us started with this conversation, could you share a pivotal moment when your curiosity felt like both a blessing and a challenge? And how were you able to navigate all of that?
Huh. Well, I always knew when I was very little that there was more. That this reality didn't really make sense to me, and I knew what would get me in trouble. That was made really clear from the way that I was raised and the school system. And I knew that if I could find a way to be the space of space, no one would pay attention to me.
Mhm.
And so there were learnings in all of that. So, for instance, in grade 4, we had to, for geography, we were put in groups of people to study the Eskimos
Oh,
in
okay.
northern Canada.
Yes.
In those days, they called them the Eskimos.
Mm.
And so uh, I got together with my group and they're all writing stuff down, and that just never worked for me. And I went home and I made my own Play-Doh, and I made a whole igloo village. I studied what would be in a village, and I brought it all to school the next day. And I said, meaning this is all part of our, you guys did that, I'm doing this, we're all contributing to each other, and
Mhm.
let's present this as a whole. And they were taken aback. They were like, no, we didn't do that. And it was my first awareness of separation of identity by what you do and don't do,
Mm.
where for me it was like, how can I contribute in a way that is fun and joy for me? Even in grade 4, it's like copying stuff down from the encyclopedia just doesn't do it for me. And so that was my first awareness of, uh oh, this is going to be different. People
Mhm.
can't receive you. And so don't stop gifting, don't stop being you, just be aware. And I would say a huge moment for me was we had a substitute teacher in grade 6, and she said, everybody, I want you, it was springtime, tell me what's out in the playground. And well, a tree. She goes, how do you know it's a tree? And the light bulb went off in my head, and I'm like, oh, she's my people.
Yes.
Right. Unfortunately, she
Yeah.
was a substitute teacher, but like, it was my first introduction, if you will, to existentialism.
Hmm.
She's my people. And then,
Hmm.
but the same token, at the end of grade 6, where we graduated in Montreal, I got my report card. In those days, it was EVGGFU, excellent, very good, good, failure. And you was like, you get out of here.
Yeah.
And I got F plus on everything. And I went to my teacher after graduation and I said, out of curiosity, why did you give me these grades? And her whole attitude towards me was like, get out, you'd be happy I passed you. And she put
Mm.
me in the mentally challenged class for high school.
Really?
I think you would call it a junior high for high school.
Hmm.
Luckily, my mother had the wherewithal to pull me out of the system. But the point being, don't deny who you are. For all of your listeners, you know the magic of you. Don't
Hmm.
don't don't buy into it wearing you down. Celebrate it. It's like, yeah.
Hmm.
And we learn from our experiences. Talk to what people can hear. Don't bother with the rest. Play with what creates more for you.
Hmm. And I think that is quite impressive, but also I can relate to the fact that you had such an awareness at a young age. And I would have been so intrigued by that substitute teacher who said,
Yeah.
"How do you know it's a tree?" Those are the types of questions that my father used to ask me. And he actually was a pastor, but he had a background in psychology. He was so into philosophy. And so even now, on certain days, he and I have these higher level types of discussions. Mom, too. But I can remember as a little girl, you
Nice.
know, when I would say, "Daddy, look at the blue sky," I will never forget. He said, "But how do you know it's blue?" I said, "It's blue because that's the color." "Yeah, but who says it has to be blue?" He would ask questions like that, and it would make me think about the origins of things. And so that whole curiosity is so impressive to me. And what I can see, and of course, people who hear the audio won't, but of course, people who will see the video can. I see beautiful artwork behind you. And that leads me into there was a time in your life when you were actively a painter. Just
That's right.
take us on that journey as to what led you into painting. Did you always have the passion for it, or was there some type of a standout moment where you said, "I want to do this for a living"? Take us there.
Yeah, I was always creative. They would put me out on the sidewalk with chalk and come back
Mm,
hours later. I'd be happy, right? Happy creating, happy. Went to Philadelphia College of Art when I was 16 because we graduated early in Quebec, which
okay.
unfortunately or fortunately, everybody else went to class. I learned how to hitchhike. It was like, oh, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Okay. So that my creativity went in there. I was married with four little children, and I always creating, always creating, always creating.
Mhm,
And I was like, okay, my husband was out doing sports at night, and especially in the summer. And I was like,
mhm,
this doesn't actually work for me. And
mhm,
so what is it that I really want to do? Well, I would like to go back to college.
mm,
So I started at night school. I got babysitters, and then I was in philosophy and sociology. And I'm like, no, why don't you get into the art stream? What are you doing? And
mhm,
so it took me 10 years to get my undergrad in painting. And I gave myself permission to sign up for two courses and drop one, like just
mhm.
keep moving. And then I ended up with a master's in painting. And from there, led me into the gallery system. And it was just like, what would bring me joy?
Mhm.
What would bring me joy? And I love the conversation. So I'll be part of the gallery system. I was in architectural magazines, and it was, I had my studio with a whole bunch of other artists who had studios. And then at the end of the day, I'd go to the market, get some fresh food, make dinner, be with kids. It was just part of who I was.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Wow.
so even for those of you who are watching, my book Breaking Free, um, the painting on the cover of the book is something I did when I was about 19, and I was hitchhiking around the world, and I would always travel with my paints and brushes, and
Mhm,
uh, and I put that away, that illustration away. And then, 50 years past, 40, whatever it is, it's hanging on my wall. And my granddaughter says to my daughter, "Mommy, that's Nana's painting. It's on her book."
mm,
And so, I shared that story with you for your listeners to there is a thread that runs through you that is so strong
mhm.
that for me at the age of 70 to have the cover of my book be a painting I did when I was 19.
That's
it's
amazing.
it's but that, and if you even look at, it's all about relationships. It's all about being present and being who you truly be, because it is
Mhm.
a unique path. We all have our own unique paths, and I'm so grateful that you shared that story with me about your dad and your mom.
Yeah.
What a gift that is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've always had really great conversations. They've always been such amazing parents. And so I really appreciate you sharing that part of your life. And with the painting, something really transformative happened that nobody saw coming. You definitely didn't see coming, but you ended up getting heavy metal poisoning, which then ultimately shifted a part of the trajectory of your life as an artist. So, what was actually that turning point, Susan, that led you to healing modalities? And how did that challenge actually turn into something that opened up new avenues of possibility for you?
Absolutely. I ended up in my recovering from heavy metal poisoning, asking myself, wait a minute, if I'm not a painter, everybody had always left me alone because they said, oh, Susan, she's a little wacky. She's creative,
Mhm.
I'm like, if I'm not a painter, if I'm not a printmaker, because I also was a printmaker, who am I? When I heard myself say that, I was like, oh my God, how much have we been sold a bill of goods in this reality that you have to be a something?
Mhm.
And what went hand in hand with uh, I left the medical community. I went to the homeopathic community and the energetic healing community to get rid of the heavy metal poisoning. And with that, there was a huge introduction to, well, what are you reading? And listening to their conversations. And then I went into, looking at Dr. Joe Dispenza and um, Eckhart Tolle and,
Yes.
Esther Hicks,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Shannon, right? It's like
Mhm.
springboard, 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 springboard,
Mhm.
springboard. And I ended up working and studying with a modality that was all energetic hands-on healing. And that really influenced my awareness in who we are in this planet
Mhm.
and how that works and how many times I had been introduced up until then in my lifetime that there was more than we thought there was to who we are.
Mhm.
And like
Yeah.
so many times, and just overlooked it. And with that, it just blossomed out into a personal transformation in how I see myself, who I was being, what is it that I came here to offer? What is it that I came here to be in service to, which has to do with uh, being present with that sacred contract that you made before you chose a body to come here. And just because you can't see what you're looking for, it doesn't mean it's not here.
Mhm. And, with all of my guests, I encourage them. I want you. I want your authentic self. And, we've talked offline and how I express the fact that I am a devout Christian, but I've had certain supernatural experiences in my life that most people in the world, regardless of their faith walk, haven't had. So, therefore, my perception and perspective is a little different because I have seen realms and have experienced things that I know were not dreams. And the fact that I can be comfortable in my own skin of knowing that there is more than what meets the eye, even with things that we practice or believe in. And it doesn't negate my faith. In fact, my relationship with the God I serve is even stronger based on that because I also know that I have certain powers from within to help create the life that I desire. And so the fact that you focus on really instead of wallowing in what was your past, you learn to embrace this whole idea of magical living. And that's been such a consistent theme. So, what, Susan, does magical living mean to you? And how can our listeners and viewers even cultivate that sense of awe and wonder in their own lives in spite of their circumstances?
I love this question. Thank you so
Mhm.
much. You know what? What's
Mhm.
running is a kid's song in my head. You've got the power with you every hour. Must
Yes,
be
I
from
love it.
Sesame Street or something, but it's there. It's there. You know what? It's so simple that we're not taught it. It's called appreciation.
Mm, that is
Don't
simple.
don't take anything for granted. Appreciation,
Mhm.
gratitude. Oh, I'm so happy and grateful that I found this out rather than, are you kidding me? Right? It's like being present with the energies that are here to contribute to you. And everything is based on appreciation. I'm so happy and grateful for the life that I'm choosing.
Mhm.
I'm being in wonderment, being curious, not coming to conclusion about anything, because whatever you decide is so was only so 10 seconds ago. Because we shift and change. Everything shifts and change.
Mm-hmm.
And it's I would say what makes it magical is because appreciation creates a ripple. Gratitude creates a ripple. You show gratitude to someone who isn't expecting it, and they're like, oh, huh. And however that feels for them, if it feels really great, they'll pass that on to somebody else. I am so grateful for everything because everything is magical. The shifts, the changes, the seasons, the choices that we have, this abundance of choice we have. That's what creates congruent, magical living in that thread that goes all the way through. Who knew that when I was living in the desert with my paints and my brushes, that whatever paintings I was doing would create something greater 50, 60, 70 years from now? It's appreciation. Whenever you have an aha, appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I have well, I don't even know if they still do them. I have a checkbook for my business, right? And every time I write a check out, I ask it to come back tenfold.
That's right. Yes.
Right? It's
Yes.
it's it's appreciation for we have this amazing, I mean, like amazing, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is to be amazed by you because you actually
Mm-hmm.
created it all.
Wow. Yeah. And your life itself has been built on just not appreciation, but just a series of different adventures. And so
Yeah.
sometimes people can get things to come and they're really excited about it, which is great. But then as they're going through it and navigating it, they are seeing, well, maybe this task that I took on or this opportunity really isn't what my inner calling is, but it's become more of a distraction. So, kind of keeping in alignment with this attitude of appreciation, how can a person distinguish or you even how have you over the years, Susan, learned to distinguish between an opportunity that actually aligns with your inner calling versus one that might be a distraction? And how have you developed discernment in this area?
Another great question. I love it. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, there's so many questions that I play with. One is, does this align with who I'm asking to be?
Mm-hmm.
Right? We all have a sense of, oh, I wish I was that, or this is what I would love to create. Does choosing this now align with where I'm asking to go? Now you could choose it, and then you could choose it again, and you could choose it again, or you could choose it and say, no, no, thanks. But the
Mm-hmm.
important thing is to step out of judgment because we've been taught to judge as if it has value.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll often say to myself, oh, I'm so sorry you were taught to judge. And it just releases everything. Like saying it from my heart to my younger self. When I see myself becoming critical, I'll just reach out to that younger self and say, oh, I'm so sorry you were taught to judge. And that opens things up.
Mm-hmm.
It's the willingness to be present. Does this bring me joy? It could have, but I heard this parable today and I just loved it. It's about a fruit tree and how the tree starts as a little sapling and then it grows into a tree and it grows into a fruit tree. And at some point in time, that fruit gets shaken off.
Mm-hmm.
And those fruits become seeds for something else, becomes something else. And so you have this forest of different growths at different times.
Mm-hmm.
And I liken it to how many times do we grow something from a sapling and we don't want to let go of the fruit? And it could be rotting, sitting on the vine,
Mm-hmm.
smelling, rotting.
And it's
Yeah.
time to let it go.
But it's like, no, 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 I grew that fruit.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and so it's really the willingness to play. It's the willingness to know that there is nothing sure, that everything you create is created twice. It's created energetically out here and it's created in here.
Yes, in
Just as
your
it's
mind.
created.
Hmm.
If it doesn't work anymore, it could have served its purpose. Again, like that fruit, it could have served its purpose. Like I'll often ask myself, did I need to invest in that course or did I need to? And I'm like,
Hmm.
well, it brought me to where I am right now. And I really appreciate that.
I like that specifically, and I resonate with that majorly. I made a huge investment at the beginning of 2024, and it turned out to be a fluke.
Yeah.
Despite all of the research, all of everything, I got burned. And a lot of us who are entrepreneurs have at least one story of something similar going wrong. But I have to tell you, Susan, that the beauty of it is that some of the other people that I met who was on that journey with me,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, I would not trade them for anything. In spite of how the program or the coach was, the relationships I built with the others,
Yeah.
I can't at this point imagine my life without knowing some of those people. And so the good did come out of it is that I had to have that experience in order to go through that. I want to backtrack just a little bit.
Mm.
When you were going through that shifting of the heavy metal poisoning, how did you first realize that you had it? And was it a challenge at the time, even trying to push through that time? I did forget to ask you that.
Yeah. I lost all my hair, my eyebrows, my eyelashes. I changed hairdressers because I'm like, this one isn't doing a good job.
Gradually?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think it probably took a couple of years.
Wow.
And so it never occurred to me I had heavy metal poisoning. And then I was seeing not a homeopath, but someone in that field. And she said, why don't you get your stool tested? And I,
Really?
and then,
Stool.
and I was like, okay. And I got
Mhm.
my stool tested and it came back with heavy metal poisoning. I mean, if we get our hair tested or our stool tested, you'll find out lots of things about what's going on in your body. You could find
True.
out
I have
you have parasites,
Crohn's. Yeah.
all kinds
Yeah.
of stuff, right? All kinds of
Hmm.
stuff. And
Hmm.
so as soon as I found out that, I was like, okay. And it was interesting because I had changed the way that I was working, painting. And the one of the gallery owners came to see my work and he goes, oh, we can't show that. And I was like, oh, okay. And I didn't realize it was because I had very wide frames. And
Oh,
galleries can't have wide frames because they need to have as many in their stacks as possible.
okay. Yes, makes
Right.
sense.
So I was like, oh, I really love that way of working. So slowly shifted to my work not being accepted. So it was almost like, oh, okay. It was a natural, oh, okay. And then the awareness was I couldn't smell Windex. I mean, anything like that would just make me sick. So I
Mm.
cleared out my environment in every sense of the word. And it
Yeah, that's really so what I envision in my mind. I can't speak for anybody else, but I think that's so profound. What you said is that it was almost as if you were forced, in a sense, to let it go to make room
that's right.
for
Yeah,
the next.
yeah,
Wow, that's
absolutely.
absolutely incredible. So, in a sense, you broke free from that
Yeah,
prior chapter. And that leads me, I'm really excited to even talk about this. Breaking Free.
yeah.
Your your book, Breaking Free, and I know that you've written that book and then you've been in an anthology. But with Breaking Free, emphasizes shedding of expectations and really embracing authenticity. So, what led you or was placed on your heart to write that book? And what do you expect readers to be able to get from it?
What led me to write the book is it's a book I was writing for about 5, 6 years,
Mm,
in 7 years. And I had, what, said to myself, what would you like to accomplish for the year 2023? I'm like,
mhm,
I'd like to get my book out. That's how I talk to myself. I'm my own
mhm.
therapist.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. And then all of a sudden the next day, in the algorithms, Facebook, whatever it is, I see this information about a book doula. And I'm like,
Mhm.
what's that? book doula. And so I pick up the phone and I talk with the book doula and I'm like, okay, I'm in. And so being a creative, we never stop creating. And we are, by the way, all creatives. It's just the
Mhm.
school system that tells us we're not, right? And so I would meet every Tuesday and here's another chapter, just the same way that I would go to my studio and paint. Here's another painting, here's another painting. And so I love that rhythm of creating. And what I wanted to do was create a book that I could take into the school systems.
Hmm.
I'd love to go into the high school systems and talk to them about being who you truly be. And so I wrote it with chapters. So at the end of every chapter, there's a journaling process. So based on the chapter that we're talking about. And in one of the chapters, I have a meditation with a QR code, and people can go to that QR code and listen to the meditation. So that there's something there for the people who like to read. We all learn in different ways. There's something there for the people who like to write, and there's something there for the people who like to listen. And for myself, more than anything else, it was a way to what's the word? It's a marker for myself.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
you don't want to go to the end, whatever that means, saying I woulda, coulda, shoulda.
That's right.
So I've always wanted
Mhm.
to do this with my book. Okay, great. Now what's next? How is
Yeah.
that working? I'll be offering a book club at some point. As I say, this to me, it's a calling card. It's a gift. I just went to a workshop in Massachusetts, and I ended up sitting next to a woman who was a priest, and
Mm.
and we were talking, and our conversations led me to an awareness. And so that the next morning, I just put, "Thank you so much for sitting next to me," and put it in front of her door.
Mm.
So, and she said she burst into tears. She said, "Thank you so
Wow.
much." So whatever you do, you're a ripple, right? We are here to make a
Mhm.
difference.
Yeah.
And so that's like writing this book was the ripple for myself,
Mhm.
for people who come in contact with it. Um, it just it that's who we are.
That's right.
That's who we are. We came
Mhm.
here to be a pattern interrupt.
Mhm.
There's this reality that doesn't really work. Nobody, no, thank you. I don't have
Mhm.
to play in it.
Yeah.
There's another way to be.
And I like your emphasis on high schoolers because I think it's so important for them to understand their value. And when I was a public school educator for 20 years, I did my best to try to instill that in a lot of my students because sometimes they aren't even getting it at home. Not all the time, but oftentimes I've met students who, you know, their parents were really doing the best they could, but when it came to really emphasizing that you are creative and you can do great things, that wasn't always a consistent message that they were getting. And so the fact that even you in your upbringing from having certain challenges in high school to really excelling, you actually experienced almost a tale of two cities in your upbringing of isolation, but also empowerment. So, how did the contrasting experiences in your high school years serve as a source of strength for you? And what can the listeners and the viewers draw to find resilience in their own lives?
I would say take some time to be with yourself.
Mhm.
When I went through 3 schools in 4 years in high school.
Mm.
One of the schools I was in, I was put in solitary confinement. And it just, it never occurred to me that it was a wrongness.
I can't believe they even had that at your school. That's
It was
unbelievable.
a British run school.
Mhm.
But and I think it's because the, I'm laughing as well because when I did my master's, my cohorts laughed at my thesis,
Really?
asked me to be the valedictorian. So when you said about the contrast,
Uh-huh.
like you be you. You know what the kids always say, you do you.
Uh-huh. Do
Right? You
you?
do
Yes.
you. And I'll never forget they were kind of laughing at my, and eh, if there's anything that I can impart is it's what brings you joy. Find
Mhm.
that spot. And if you can't, find a mentor, find a coach, reach out,
Mm.
because we all need accountability. And for many people, it's very hard to stay. They say, Susan, how can you stay positive? Like somebody I just talked to yesterday, she goes, "Oh, I should talk to you more often."
Hmm.
It's not that, it's your point of view, how you have a lens that you view your life through.
Yeah,
It's not anybody else's lens.
that's
And you
right.
can clean it, you can sharpen it, you can have it so that it actually creates a life that creates for you. And I can't say it enough. It has to do with gratitude, it has to do with appreciation. My biggest appreciation on that graduation night was my whole family and my sister-in-law and my nephews and nieces, and everybody was there. I'm like, okay,
Hmm. Wow. Life comes full circle, and
life
I
comes full
love that.
circle. And
I
it's never
absolutely
over.
no, no.
Yeah.
And even when you are now as a coach and a mentor,
Yeah.
how do you guide the people that you work with in terms of your clients or otherwise? How do you guide them into exploring what's actually possible in their lives as opposed to them trying to fit into a box as our society often wants us to do?
Well, the first thing I asked them is, what would you love?
Mhm.
Like, truly, what would you love? What does that look like? Now, you've got to be courageous. A lot of people won't answer that. They'll tell you everything that's wrong.
Mhm.
And so
Mm.
what we do is we start with, what would you love? What do you really want? Well, let's say somebody might say, I want a relationship. What would that give you?
Mhm.
Right? I want $1 million. What would that give you? Because it's not what you've decided that you're lacking. It's what is it that you want to give back to you that will nourish you, that keeps you making those baby steps all the way through this amazing journey we call life.
I'm curious about something. This is just piquing my interest.
Yeah.
I've had either past clients or just people I know who can get stuck sometime. And when you ask them, what would you love, or what do they love, or what's something that they're passionate about, and they really don't know.
Yeah.
They're truly stuck in I don't know. Or maybe that they once were passionate about something, but they're in a place in their life now where they're just going through the motions. What would you tell somebody that's listening who honestly says, that sounds good and all, Susan, but I just don't know? I don't know.
You have such great questions. I would
Mm,
say the first thing is put your hand on your heart, close your
mm.
eyes, take some deep breaths in, deep breaths out, and then ask yourself, if I had a magic wand and I could create anything for myself, what would that be? What would I love? Would it bring me joy? Does it define who I am as a person? Does it align with my values? How does it feel? What does it taste? What color is it? Where am I
Mhm,
feeling it in my body?
mhm.
And that's a huge gift to yourself, because we don't take the time out. We're too busy with the iPhones and the Googles and the TikToks. And there's statistics now that shows it's changing the brain
It
of these
is.
adolescents. And so I would encourage my clients, be curious. This is a safe space. Be curious, investigate. There's no wrongness here. And this, generally we say, I'd like to be this or this or that, or create this or this or that. And somebody's going to go, are you sure? Or you tried that before, or
Mhm,
whatever. This is for you, not for somebody else. This is a conversation for you, not to share with someone else who's going to judge you.
mhm.
We've had those primal years from 0 to 7 of blame, shame, regret. And that's where the stories are kept that you bring with you. And if you ask me, Susan, what would you love like 10, 20 years from now? I can describe the emotions. I kind of get a picture, and I can take it back to the present and say, okay, what am I choosing today that's aligning with where I want to be and what I want to do? Because again, we're given this false sense of like instant boom, like, hey, I'm a coach and I'm a multimillionaire. And yesterday
Mhm.
I was broke and now this is my, swimming pool and it's all crap.
Mm.
It has nothing to do with the spiritual you. You
Mhm.
have a higher calling. You have a voice inside of you that's saying, grow, grow, grow. And that's the joy of working with people, is for them to ease into that, to learn to let go of the old stories and to start to
Mhm.
build new stories, because the brain loves a story.
Yeah.
Brain doesn't care what kind of story it is. It wants a story. So give it a new story. I'm the kind of person that is growing and creating and will be pulling in all the people that are interested in playing and working with me.
Mhm.
My one of my codes to get into something is show up 2024.
Mhm.
Every day, it's not even on a sticky note. Every day I have to write in show up 2024 for that password. So I'm saying that to myself every day. That's my story. Show up. You showing up
Mhm.
today? With no judgment. Because one of the other things about gratitude and appreciation, when you put your head on that pillow, when you look in the mirror to brush your teeth, it's your mirror, it's your pillow. Right? And it's so wonderful to what am I grateful for today? I'm so grateful for my pillow. If nothing else, I'm so grateful for my pillow.
Yeah.
Nothing
Mhm.
else. I'm grateful I have cold water coming out to brush my teeth with.
Mhm.
It's it's you want to fill your bucket with gratitude and appreciation for what you're creating in your life.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was beautifully, beautifully stated. And I think, like I was telling you as well as others in my pre-calls on this podcast, it's so amazing that what you put out is what you get back. I didn't share this with you, but when I first started the podcast, I was primarily interviewing people I know just to get it started. And I just could not imagine, like, how in the world am I going to have guests, consistent guests week after week after week? Now, fast forward almost 2 years later, because I'm interviewing you October of 2024. And I was telling my mom just last night, I said, Mom, I said, I have enough interviews that'll keep me right now until at least April of 2025.
Yeah.
And I said, it's unreal how there's such an influx where I'm having to tell people, hey, let's reconnect in the first quarter of 2025 so that then we could talk about possible screenings, things like that. But it's literally, it came to me. I didn't really even seek it out. And that's so mind blowing. And it's about the fact that this podcast is all about what's the person's story? How are they changing not only their lives, but the people around them? And while our titles and our wealth or whatever materialistic items have their place, and there's nothing wrong with it, when all is said and done, we are much more bigger than our stuff. We are much
Oh,
more bigger than our titles. We are so much more than that. And so as we start to come to a close, I think of people who often say that they're trying to find themselves. I'm going through this exploration where I'm finding myself, but you actually embody the essence of encouraging people to create yourself. And so, how can someone out there adopt this mindset of continual reinvention, regardless of their age, socioeconomic, gender, whatever, this continual reinvention in a world that is constantly saying you need to find yourself and find your purpose?
um, I talk about that in the book Breaking Free,
Hmm.
Your Unique Path to Fearless Living. You are here on purpose. There's no
Mm-hmm.
purpose to find. You chose this life at this time. We are having this conversation right now. We chose this on purpose. This concept of I don't know who I am and I have to find my purpose. If you have enough people believing that, pardon me, if you have enough people believing that, you can control them. So it's a great way for church, government, whatever, whoever, to control you, as long as you're kept in doubt about your the unique being that you are, the creative, joyous, a baby comes in and it's like, hi, you want to play? It's like, no, now's not the time to play. Oops, okay. Like, can I eat that? No, that's not good for you. Oh, okay. So you're slowly crushed that like, hey, hi. It's slowly crushed or shape shifted into something that would work for other people. And you learn that's a great way to be taken care of, is to hide all that wonderfulness. Know that you came here on purpose. I'm always dealing with that. People, I will need to find my purpose. Well, you're having this conversation with me. Did you choose this conversation with me? Yes. Well, you chose it on purpose. And that's where the alignment is. When I ask, okay, if I choose this, will this add to my life and living? Then I know I'm on purpose. My purpose is joy. It's being in service to create greater. I don't have to know what it is. I know there's just many different times in which that has popped up for me. Now's the time. Now's the time. Whether it's having a huge gala for breast cancer, the first run for the breast cancer in Montreal, or I was teaching art to homeless women and they didn't have a generator. And I'm like, okay, we can do something about that. And I went to the Gap and I went to the Artley artists in Montreal and they made jackets and we had an auction for them. You will be called when it's right. You will be called. Don't start looking for to be called. You will be called when you are in your full element of being in service to being alive. And so I think that's the most important thing is whatever you're doing, even if you're spending 2 hours watching Netflix, don't judge yourself. Just say, well, perhaps this is what I required at the time. Now, what else is possible? Right now, was that an honoring of me? Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. Maybe that's the only way that you know to give yourself time out. Maybe meditation isn't your thing. Whatever that is, be that with you. Be that with you, because you are the God source, right? I always say a wonderful acronym for God is good, orderly direction. Right? You are that source. You came here on purpose. And I can't stress that enough. It's, again, don't buy anything that anybody says about you or who you should be or how you should create as real and true. Ask, does this align? Does it bring me joy? Does it create a future that I'm asking to create with? Not for, with. Because we're always creating with our future right now.
Susan, what brings you joy?
Talking with you.
Oh, that's sweet.
I would say it's uncontainable. When I'm in my joy, it's uncontainable. Because it's not I've learned that, again, we're taught joy is a manic thing. But it's a sweet river that runs through you.
Yes. I love that. Yes.
Right?
It is.
Yeah.
I tell people you can still have joy if all hell is breaking loose around you. You can still have joy, consistent joy and peace. Even if everything else seems so haywire, you can still have joy. And it's not, I had someone ask me, well, isn't that toxic positivity? I said, no. I said it's not toxic positivity because I still acknowledge what's around me or what's happening, or even with certain things that I experience in life. I acknowledge the presence of it, but it doesn't have to be my existence. It doesn't have to consume my life. Yeah.
Again, a great way to
Joy.
control somebody
I
or a
love
people or
that
a
river.
right? Is pay attention to all the drama and trauma. Well, what about buying a homeless person a sandwich who's on the side of the street? What about, I was just thinking today, it's Halloween, and I was opening up bags of candy for all the little kids. And I was just thinking, that brings me joy. Right? I don't have any little kids anymore. The idea of decorating that side of my house and opening the doors and seeing these little goblins and witches and I'm in Canada, and I always make sure to have American candy for them because
Oh, okay.
it's those little things that, it's not going to shake the earth. Maybe it will. Is it going to put $1 million in my bank account? I don't know. But, money loves joy.
Mm-hmm.
Great sex loves joy.
Mm-hmm.
Relationships love joy.
Mm-hmm.
The planet loves joy.
That's right.
So it's who we are. Yeah.
And Susan, if people want to break free in reading your book, how can they connect with you, learn more about your journey, but also how can they go about getting your book? And of course, I'll put it in the show notes as well.
Just go to Amazon. Go to Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Breaking Free, Your Unique Path to Fearless Living. We were talking before, there's like 50 different books with Breaking Free, but
yes,
this is the one that's calling.
Exactly.
And just go to SusanLazarHart.com. I have something that I've created for people for themselves. It's a transformation toolkit. And you open it up and there's a bit of a cycle breaker quiz. Like, what cycles are you caught up in? And then from there, I have a little bit of an exercise for you to play with. It's for you. It's not to sell anything. It's just to check in and seeing, am I really in joy? Am I congruent with my choices? And you'll be amazed at what pops up. It's something I check in, like, does this bring me joy? If not, no, thank you.
That's right. And as we come to a close, Susan, for a person who says, I've really enjoyed this, I'm hearing everything she says, but I'm still not perfect. I have a lot of flaws and I'm imperfect. What role can quote unquote imperfections play in a person's growth and transformation journey?
Well, the first thing I would ask, if this was a client with me, I would say, who did you buy that from? Mm-hmm. At what age did you buy that you weren't perfect? And we'd be very quiet with that energy. And that the client generally will pop into an age in which they were either criticized and it stayed with them, in which they, whatever that is. And here's the secret. It's presence over perfect. Mm-hmm. It's are you willing to be present with everything you'd like to create? Again, what would that look like? One of the exercises I do with my clients is, and it could be in the book, I'm not sure, is I have them write everything on one column, 3 columns. The first column is write down everything that you've always wanted to create or do, no matter how crazy. I always wanted a cat. I don't know. I wish I could ride a horse. I'd like to make $1 million. I want a relationship. I want to travel, whatever that is. And then in this middle column, write down every reason you haven't done it. And then after you've done that, write down on the third column, which one of these really turns you on. Pick one. Pick one. Which one of these would bring you joy? Which one of these do you see yourself being with in the future? What would that look like? What would that taste like? How would that feel? And that's where we begin.
Wow. And it has been such a thrilling ride with you, Susan. I'm so glad that we know each other and that we've been able to have this conversation. And it has truly been my honor having you as a guest here on the Power Transformation Podcast. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you, Alethea. This is like, I'm so grateful for this conversation. Look at the ripples that we're creating right now and the joy. I have so much joy just being with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Power Transformation Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow or subscribe, leave a 5-star rating, and write a review. It helps us inspire even more listeners. And don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who could use a little power in their transformation. Until next time, keep bouncing back, keep rising, and and be good to yourself and to others.